Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Today's video is part 35 in the Cobra Jet series, also known as Slither. Now in the last video, I worked on the front sheet metal. I put the aprons on, the core support, I did a bunch of test fitting. I wanted to make sure everything fit, and I hope there's a lot of information in that video that you could use on your project. I try to share as much information as I can, and I appreciate it if you share my videos. Leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, all those things to help this channel grow. Now in this video, what I want to do is show you some differences in the doors. Now as you can see, I have the original fender for this car. This was what came on the Cobra Jet. That is the original color, black jade. And I have another door on it right now that is actually from a 70 fastback. That door is in good shape as far as the shell goes, the main shell, but the outer skin is a little bit rough. So I was debating on whether I was going to use that door or not, but Charles had also thought ahead because he knew that his doors were no good, and he ordered a pair of Dynacorn doors. So I pulled those out of the box to have a look at them as well, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to show you some differences, or do a comparison between the original door, the Dynacorn door, and I have some NPD doors. Those doors came with my Mach 1, and I'm going to show you those doors as well, and maybe we can decide or see which may be the best choice. So let's take a look at all these doors. Now as I said, this is a door from 1970. The exterior of the door is exactly the same. There is one little area up here in the front on the inside that is just a little bit different than the 69. It is still usable though. This door is the original door for the passenger side on the Cobra Jet. And even though it looks fairly decent on the outside, I can tell you that from the inside, if I lift it up, you can look through it and see daylight all through the bottom. So that's not going to be usable. This door came out of this box. Now I don't know what time period this door is from. Like the car that I have has been, in fact, look, Mustang. The car that I have has had pieces gathered up over a long period of time. So I can't tell you exactly when this door was produced, but I can say that it is in an NPD box, and there you can see the part number and everything else. There's no way to verify exactly when the door was made. There is another label back here. I don't see a date on it. So this may be an older reproduction door. I don't know for sure, but that is this door right here. And I can already see some subtle differences between this door and this door, which is the Dynacorn door. As you can see, it's got more subdued or flat finish on it, and that was out of this box right here. So there is the part number there. I'm assuming that Dynacorn actually makes this door, and they're not just taking another door and putting a sticker on it, as we've seen in the past. So I'm going to set these up on some stands and try to do a comparison between at least the Dynacorn and the NPD, and also this, which is the original door from the 69 that I have. I don't think I'm going to be able to use this door. It's got several areas that are bad, and at the minimum it would need reskinned, but also it has some rust here in the bottom. So I will consider what I'm going to do at some point, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to use that for demonstration purposes. Alright, I'm going to try to give you my opinion on all of these. Again, this first one, that is an original door from my Mach 1 that has rust issues. This door is from NPD. You can see it's a little shinier. This door is from Dynacorn. And this door, of course, is the original door from the Cobra Jet. One big difference, or one big thing that stands out, obviously, is this door, the original door, has the mount locations for the sport mirror. You come back here, nothing on the Dynacorn, nothing on the NPD, and here they are on this original door. Another quick observation, when you look at the raised area for the door handle, so obviously this gets bolted on, and if you look, you can just see this has a subtle kind of indent or curve right there at the top. Here the NPD, pretty much straight and smooth. Same way with the Dynacorn, pretty much straight and smooth. And this shows you why you have that. So here's the door handle with a little kind of recess area, and this follows that same shape. Otherwise, I think these are pretty consistent. The edges are decent as we come around and look. They could be a little crisper here on the corners, but overall I don't think you're going to notice that once you have a door handle on. And this one, a little crisper corner. I think even these corners are more defined, almost to a point there. Rounded and rounded, and same thing with the original. You know, it's got the nice harder lines on it. Now also, just looking at it from the top, I can tell you that the original door has a very radiused corner here. So if I put my hand there and you look at that, you can see just how curved that is. Dynacorn, NPD, and I know the corner is missing from this, but we're going to say original. So ultimately the original doors have a rounded corner on them, and it may be beneficial if you're looking at putting on one of these aftermarket ones, maybe to modify that, just to mimic the original more. Also, at the front, you look at this one, a little rounded, Dynacorn, pretty square. NPD, not quite as square, and this one is missing, so I can't really do a comparison on that. The other thing that I'm looking at is how well the stamping is put together. So this original door, you can feel a little waviness on this backside, and I may flip these over to show you that. But let's look at a couple other things on top before we get too far along. So you've got this flat surface here, and it kicks up just slightly at the back, which it has to do. That's the curve. You can see it in the body line, how it curves up. The NPD door, yes, it does all that. Now, as I said, I don't know exactly when this door was produced. I can't say that it's within the last year. I don't know, but I'm just letting you know what I have. Here, this is weird. Like, this is a dip. Instead of being flat, this dips in. And it's kind of hard to show you that. Maybe I get a straight edge later. But that dips in right through there. Dynacorn seems to be consistent. It actually dips a little bit as well right there. So not exactly the same as the original. And here is the original, nice and smooth. So there's some subtle differences there. Now I'm going to flip all of these over, and we're going to look at the backside and see what differences we can find. Alright, let's take a look at the backside or the inside. Again, original, NPD, Dynacorn, original. So let's start back here at the original one. As I said before, this is all just rusted away. Nothing you can do about that. Even this upper section or forward section here is completely separated. So there's no salvaging this door. It is scrap. I want to point out though, if you look at some of the elements of this door, like these flanges right here, you can see how flat that is and consistent, and these have spot welds in them. There's at least one there and one up here. So you've got that going for it, and you can see in the corner here there's a little bit of wrinkling from where it was stamped, and otherwise everything else seems to be your standard door. Come to the Dynacorn, and you've got a nice wide flange, and it's very flat. There's no ripples in it. This corner is wrinkled like that, somewhat like the original one. The edge up here is pretty good. You look at this one, pretty consistent shape. So this looks really nice. You can look at the spot welds and see how nice those are. Even the ones internally here, pretty solid looking spot welds. Come to the NPD. I don't like this flange. It's got a bunch of waves in it. It's not consistent. You can hook your finger underneath it. There's a gap there. The upper section here is a little bit different, but it's probably within the range of these. So I think that is okay overall. And the wrinkling in this corner is more towards the bottom rather than in the middle. Again, this is just a detail. I'm not pointing out that this is a flaw. It's just the way it is. Come back here to the other original door. This one has several spot welds along the flange. Again, a wide flange. This section here is a little shorter even. So you can see it's not a very tall corner. Let's go back up here to the other original one. This one, it might be just a hair taller. Probably not a big deal. This one is more consistent with that first one. And like I said, the Dynacorn, the NPD, this one is actually bent over. So it's not a flange, it's bent down. This corner's a little rougher too, just the way it's shaped. You've got like a little bird mouth there. I guess the Dynacorn does that as well. Okay, so good spot welds. I can't even hardly see the spot welds on this one. There's one up there. I don't see any down in this area. Okay, now this is something I know is important. Let's look at these mount plates. So that's the original. Plenty of play there. The NPD looks like plenty of play in there, and same way here. So that's good. Now the Dynacorn, this upper one, I can't get the screwdriver to hit the top edge. This one does. This one, I can't get it to go down. Like, I'm pushing against that. I'm moving the whole door and not moving the plate. So something is in there causing that to be a problem. Could that be a problem installing it? Sure it could, because you might have a hard time just getting the bolt in that hole. The bolt is bigger than this screwdriver. And so I'm going to have to look at that a little closer. We already know this one's pretty crusty, but the plate still moves. Alright. Otherwise, as I look these over, when you look at all the holes that are here, I'm not going to go through and count every one of them or point out every single hole, but the Dynacorn one is very consistent. The stamping on some of these lines, or a lot of these lines, are a lot more clean and consistent as compared to the NPD. This just feels rounded off. You know, it doesn't have that crisp feel to it. All these just feel like they're there, but they're not clearly defined. Where the Dynacorn, they've done a better job of that. All these feel much better. And of course the original, you're going to have kind of a variation of maybe both of those. So these aren't really super crisp anyway. Of course it has the correct numbers stamped in it. The bottom, we all know about the seal flange there. NPD, that thing is straight as can be, so you have to bend that over yourself, which is fine. Dynacorn, got a little bit of a wave to it, not a lot. And I do see that they've got holes pre-drilled in the bottom. NPD does too. Okay, so that's a plus. And of course this one, there's not much there, but the seal is still in place. Come back to the original and look at these holes, how they're shaped. All this, you know, of course, being original, is nice and solid. There's some more spot welds on the flange, so you can get a look at that. NPD, not quite as pronounced. This flange on this side, again, I can hook my finger underneath it, my fingernail, especially down here. And even running it down this length, the flange itself starts out tight up here and loses material down here. Not a big concern, I'm just pointing it out just so you can see. This corner is open. I don't have a reference on this one. You go to the Dynacorn. That flange is wider and a lot more consistent. It does taper off kind of in the midsection here, but it's flat all the way through. There's no way to get a finger underneath those, or fingernail. So that's nice. These holes feel like they're deeper. I don't know if that's better or not, but they definitely feel deeper and more defined. Yeah, these are pretty deep. These are more shallow for sure. Definitely more shallow on the NPD. Okay. And of course the original. Now, what does all that mean? Well, it doesn't mean a whole lot if it doesn't fit the car, right? So what I have, I've installed this used door on the driver's side. And of course I have the original fender there as well. I'm going to mock up or test fit the NPD driver's door and the Dynacorn driver's door. I feel like I have to give them a chance and see if they're worth having. This door, I know, although the inside and the bottom is all solid, the outside is slightly damaged, and I did find where there were some holes drilled in it and somebody had pulled it out and filled it with filler. So even though it's probably worth saving as a door, it may be better off to use something like the Dynacorn. So I'm going to try the NPD first, and then the Dynacorn. Okay, so you've already seen what it looked like with the red door from the 70, and this is the NPD door. Now the fender is sitting in basically the same spot. I do see that this is not very good. I can lift the fender because it's still loose, it is not locked in anywhere. I can still lift the fender slightly, and it helps with the gap somewhat, but when I do that, then it changes how the bottom sits and makes it come out. So at this point, I don't like that very much at all. I also noticed that this was a little closer to the A-pillar, and when I went to open the door, because here I have it considered basically on alignment, right? So lying pretty much, maybe just a hair low, but when I went to open it, let me see if I have to get the fender out of the way. So when I went to open it, the bottom corner scrapes on the rocker panel. Right there. At least that's what I think is scraping. I don't know where else it would be scraping. Let me see if I can get it. Nope, maybe not. Okay, that was the hinges. I thought it was that corner because it was so close. Yeah. All right, so that that works. We're going to get the Dynacorn on next and see what it looks like. Hopefully, it looks better than that. So here is the Dynacorn door. I cannot give you a true assessment on this at this point. And the reason for that is the lower hinge will not go any further forward. The bottom or the top of the door needs to come down slightly, and the gap is off. So it's tight here at the front and it gets wider towards the back. That throws off the body line slightly, and it's just a little high back here. So I'm going to have to modify where the bracket is so I can move it forward just a little. This isn't uncommon. I've seen this happen with other cars that I've put hinges on or used aftermarket parts, and things don't quite fit. Now, we do know that that door fit really nice. And this, comparing the Dynacorn to the NPD, I think I like the Dynacorn better. Even though there's still this little gap right here, bring the fender up again just a little bit, and that almost goes away. Now, I can look and see this curve. It kind of gets flat right here. And so what I've done in the past is I've reshaped stuff like that. You can take, believe it or not, a piece of pipe. You can take a board, put it in there and smack it, and a lot of times this will make the shape happen that you want it to. So I think there's room for improvement on the Dynacorn door, and I'm going to try to make this work. I want to make this contour correct and try to see if I can get it to match the fender much better. Again, I need to adjust the hinge so that I can rotate the door slightly, and that's going to affect all of this overall. It's going to tighten up that bottom. And right now the fender, it has to come kind of back a little bit anyway down here at the bottom. So room for adjustment, but at this point the Dynacorn door is a little bit further ahead on my scale than the NPD. I should also point out that it's actually touching up here on the A-pillar. So, yeah. Well, this original door is not looking so good. I wanted to clean off this area because I wanted to verify the shape. So when I did that, a lot of filler came off. There's a high spot here. There's obviously a lot of filler creating the shape of it here, and we already know there's problems back here. So odds are I'm not going to use this door, or this, it would have to be reskinned or something. But I can use it as a guide, let's say, to look at the shape. So I'm going to get a contour gauge, and we're going to compare this to the other doors. Okay, you may hear some chainsaw noises. That's because I have the door open because the weather is fantastic. So here is my contour gauge, and what I want to do is pick an area that'll give me enough of the height here above the center line without being way up here on the edge. So I'm going to come back probably about an inch and see if I can't get a good shape. Okay, so there's about an inch. I feel like that's a good, confident shape for the contour gauge. So let's compare that to the NPD. So NPD panel, I set this on, and you know what? It's not the same. Big difference. If I go further back, also have a gap underneath that. So now let's compare that to the Dynacorn. So of course this is the original fender, which is, look at that and how that fits spot on the original fender. Come up here, and this Dynacorn, I was about an inch back or so from this front edge, and you can see it's not hitting here at the top, which means that this recess is too high. However, if I come back here, it is much, much closer. And this is what I was saying earlier. I feel like this is a good door, but this section, this forward section, they didn't quite get the stamp right. back here in the middle of the door and everything, that is almost dead on. A little bit tall there. Yeah. So to use this one, as I said earlier, I'm going to try to make the Dynacorn work, because I don't want to use that red original door. I think it's too rough. If I can get this to reshape slightly and restore that, then that's going to take care of a lot of problems. Another thing I want to do is set another fender on here and see how it compares. I'm confident that the other fender, being an original fender, should mimic this shape like it's supposed to. Okay, so this is the other original fender. Let me show you this. It's just a little off. I can see this upper section is not fully making contact. I can wiggle it around just a tiny bit, but it comes closer to fitting the shape of the door. Now the bottom of the fender is sticking out a little. I'm going to push that in, and you'll see it reveals that, just that flaw right there. Otherwise, the rest of it is really close to matching the door overall. I can't complain about that. I mean, there's some minor adjusting that I can do on the door itself, but I'm really feeling good about this Dynacorn door. So, other than this little section right here, it's great. Well, did we answer any questions? I think so. I know that the original door is always the best way to go, but it's hard to find a solid original door that doesn't have some sort of issues. I know that the red door, it has rust in it, it has dents in it, it has body filler on it. So overall, it's going to have at least a reskin, I would think. And unfortunately, the 70 and the 69 also have a little variation on the inside. Not that big of a deal. Most people won't even notice that. And these doors from the 70 would be service replacement doors for the 69 anyway. So there may be an overlap there if somebody were to question why you put in a 70 door. Okay, the other things. The Dynacorn door, I think overall is the second one in the list. So you have, OEM, and then even though the Dynacorn door is going to need some work, I still say that's probably the best bet out of the options that I have. And then comes the NPD. Now, I showed you with the contour gauge the differences between those, and I think the Dynacorn I can rework and get the shape the way that I want it. At this point though, this is all I'm going to show you in this video. I have a lot more to do as far as adjusting the hinge. I think I have to open up the holes for the Dynacorn door so that the plate can move a little more freely, or I can get more movement out of the adjustment. It's not dead on perfect, and I didn't expect it to be. However, I can modify what's there and make it work. Now also, I pointed out that I have, of course I had the original fender from the Cobra Jet, and then I have some other fenders that are original Mustang fenders as well. And I was surprised at how well the second fender actually fit compared to the first in some areas. I know that in the midsection of the door, the new fender, the gray fender, needed to be massaged a little to make it match the contour. Again, these all come with time and adjustments, all those sort of things. And there may be some filler that has to be put on in certain cases so you actually get the perfect transition. None of these are going to be dead on perfect. Even original doors can have problems. And, at the factory they would put these doors on, and they had a big jaw that they would clamp on the door, and they would twist that thing to make it fit the car. So, in the early cars they had a big problem with that, and later on I'm sure they did the same thing. So you could have a door from one car that fits it perfect and doesn't fit the second car the way you think it should. So there's always adjustments that have to be made to make these things fit. Anyway, that'll be the end of this video. So I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for comments, thumbs up, all those things that help this channel. I know that I encourage people to join Patreon, and I really do want to encourage you to do that, because it's difficult for me to continue doing what I'm doing with the revenue that I get from YouTube. It's just terrible. And I try to put out so much effort into these videos, making detailed videos and trying to share as much information as I can, but I can't compete with a bunch of goofy stuff out there that people are watching in a younger age bracket, let's say. Our age bracket is interested in these things, and YouTube doesn't care about that. It's just the way it is. So again, I encourage you to sign up for Patreon and help me out if you can. Otherwise, that'll be the end of this video, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.